this episode, I'm going to cover a concept that we like to call loose hitting in warrior flow. And when we're talking about loose hitting, we're not talking about slappy, floppy kind of stuff. What we're talking about is a state of relaxation. So if you had the book Attack Proof, which, oh man, it's like 25 years when the first edition came out, we talk about a concept called looseness. But one of the problems with looseness is it means a lot of different things to people, and so it's probably not the best word. I mean, I still use it, but I always try to explain what we really mean by looseness because I think there's a lot of confusion on it. When we're talking about looseness, we're not talking about, again, this floppy kind of feel that people have or this kind of idea. What we're talking about is relaxation. The problem with relaxation, though, is most people don't know how to actually relax their body, especially under duress. And it's understandable because it's not something that's necessarily taught. If you played sports, especially if you ran track, they talk about looseness, they talk about relaxation. If you wrestled, we always talked about being loose, being relaxed. And so the idea behind that was the more relaxed you are in the muscles, the looser you are in your muscles, the more functional your muscles can be. So it's not that you're not using your muscles. It's not that you're, just like I said, flopping around. What you're trying to do is you're trying to relax as much as possible to get maximum performance out of the muscles. So when we start talking about loose hitting or looseness in warrior flow, we're really talking about this state of relaxation. So in this episode, I'm going to get into some of the aspects of how you can develop that and how you can practice that on your own to improve any kind of striking you already do. Now, a few years ago, there was a video of a Kung Fu guy. I think he was a Kung Fu master, if I'm not mistaken, and you can probably find this video still out there, where he was demonstrating this concept of looseness and relaxation in the body. And one of the things, as you probably can imagine, because most people misunderstood what he was talking about, when you look into the comments section below the YouTube video, all the so-called experts are criticizing it, saying it's phony, it's nonsense, it's bullshito, all this stuff. But the reality is, what he was demonstrating was how, by being relaxed in the body, how you can develop explosive hitting. So he was moving kind of like this, going back and forth, demonstrating how you could be relaxed in the body. And then every now and then he would drop and he would hit with tremendous power. A couple times he hit people and literally left whelps on their body. It looked like, like they got hit with like a branding iron or something that literally left the imprint of his hands. And the reality is, that's really how you want to try to develop relaxation in your body. So for those people who criticize it, the reason they criticize is, number one, they don't know what they're talking about. Number two, they have no understanding of human physiology and how our bodies actually function. Number three, all they know is what they learned either in karate class, what they learned in their MMA training. But yet the irony is, in all of those different arts, I don't care what it was, whether it's boxing, whether it's MMA, whether it's jiu-jitsu, everybody talks about getting loose. So here's a guy demonstrating a perfect example of how you can loosen your body. And everybody is criticizing the very things that they're sitting around telling each other all the time that you want to exhibit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple exercises that I put people through to help them learn how to do this, because the truth of the matter is, in our culture, we really are not taught in a lot of venues how to relax. I mean, heck, people have trouble sleeping because they don't know how to relax. So it's even harder for most people when they have to do something physical where they got to exert themselves, trying to find that balance between the proper amount of muscular force or muscular contraction and the proper amount of relaxation. So what I'm going to do is I start off with my feet, generally shoulder width apart. It doesn't have to be exact. And I like to do an exercise, where I just let my arms hang. And I actually go over this in the down and dirty course. I let my arms hang. And all I'm going to do is feel my center of gravity over the center of my feet. And I'm just going to shift my body, kind of slightly turn, going back and forth, trying to make no effort whatsoever to control my arms. And the purpose of that is I want to feel the weight of my arms. I want to feel the total relaxation. When I tell you this is actually harder to do than people think, you're going to see it for yourself. And I just go back and forth. And all I'm doing is trying to relax my upper body as much as possible, trying not to create any unnecessary tension, driving from my legs and just going back and forth. Just feeling the body move back and forth, feeling my arms just hang, just getting used to that relaxed feeling. So what you can do is, let's go ahead, stop the video. Let's go ahead and practice that a little bit and then come back after you've done that about 20, 30 seconds or a minute. Okay, so now that you've done that a little bit, you could probably feel maybe even a little tension at times, especially in the shoulders as you're practicing this. You might have even felt the tendency for your biceps to want to try to flex as you're going back and forth, and that's normal. But as you practice it more and more, you'll get to the point where you can just move like this without any attempt or any desire to just try to lift your arms. But what you're going to then start noticing is how much more control eventually you're going to gain over your arms. The next thing I like to do is I like to have people do an exercise that Grandmaster Perkins used to teach, and that's called rolling the ball. And all I do is I pretend like I have like a big wrecking ball or whatever. You can even use a ball or a medicine ball. And I'm going to take the ball in my hands, and I'm going to drive it with the legs, push the ball. Then I'm going to rotate the ball over and push it back. Then I'm going to rotate over and push it back. And I'm just going to continue going back and forth just like this. And what I'm trying to do is relax the arms as much as possible so that I'm only using enough strength in the arm to hold the arm up and kind of maneuver the arm. My arms, when I'm doing this, especially my top arm, should be so relaxed. It's almost like you could feel the muscle just hanging on the bone. And I'll explain that as I go along. And as I'm doing this, what's going on is I'm just trying to be as relaxed as possible, driving with the legs, feeling my body being moved by my legs, but really relaxing my upper body. Because when I start hitting, I want to make sure I don't have any antagonistic muscle in the upper body. So when I strike, I can strike with maximum power. So let's go ahead, stop the video, and let's go ahead and practice that for about a minute. Okay, so now that you've kind of practiced that a little bit, you kind of got a feel. And one of the things we're going to talk about is when Grandmaster Perkins used to kind of teach on this concept, one of the things he used to always say, and I like this expression, and that is when he hits people, he's hitting with his skeleton. And if you take that literally, what you're going to end up finding is as you're moving, if you're just lifting and moving your arms with just enough muscular control to move your arms and trying to really move and strike in a manner or practice striking in a manner as if all you're trying to do is line your skeleton up as you hit. What you start noticing is you start noticing the natural relaxation in the muscles starts kicking in. In other words, it prevents you from the tendency of when we extend our arm where we want to tighten up the arm for some reason. But also, one of the things I want to point out, when he moves in this fashion, as if he's striking with his skeleton, at no time did he extend his arm all the way. And the reason for that is once you start adding speed, if you build that bad habit of locking your arm out, you're going to end up hyperextending your elbow. I mean, in a real situation, hyperextending your elbow, whether the bad guy causes it or you cause it, it's still not good for you because it's still your elbow. So when he would do this, there was a fluidness and a grace to what he did. He didn't just throw his arms out for the sake of throwing his arms out. And he just could move in any direction. But you could always notice no matter how he moved, he always moved in a manner where it was obvious that he was very relaxed, that he didn't have any undue tension in the muscles. So what I want you to do is now go ahead and stop the video and go ahead and practice moving in any direction, throwing any strike you want. If you don't know how to throw strikes, don't worry about it. Just move the arms in this fashion anyway. But focus on really trying to hit with your skeleton to feel that relaxation and resist the temptation to straighten your arm all the way out and lock the arm out and the temptation to get jerky. If you get a little jerky, don't worry. This is why you train. You'll learn how to not do that. So go ahead, stop the video and practice that for about a minute. Now, the final part of this for this episode because then I'm going to cover some more stuff in subsequent episodes and show you how you put this together where you can start developing a type of striking power where it seems almost like you're hitting with supernatural force. In this episode, what I want you to finally finish up with is to help develop your body is now that you kind of got a feel for how to move like this, you got a kind of a feel for how you can move where you're not exerting yourself with unnecessary tension. Now what I want you to start doing here is start rolling your shoulders and practicing moving your shoulders and moving your body and really relaxing your body and basically relax and contort your body in different ways to get your body accustomed to being relaxed and moving in these different positions. Now, obviously, if you're moving your body, you have to be using muscle. So it's not like you're completely relaxed. And don't worry about that. You know, the idea is to relax as much as you can to get maximum contraction and maximum speed and power out of the muscles. So when you're doing this, just remember, as you're doing this, the whole purpose is to learn to develop this quality in the body. These qualities that enable you so that when you start hitting with power and speed, what starts to happen is you start catching, kind of within that stretch shorten cycle, the maximum, contraction, the maximum relaxation, the maximum contraction, the whipping kind of effect, also the maximum extension where I can throw a strike and pull it back at lightning speed or throw strikes, whereas as I'm moving, even if I need to change direction, because I'm not trying to overcome unnecessary tension, it's just a lot easier. Plus, it's a lot easier to conserve energy, especially if you have to throw a lot of strikes. So go ahead, practice that, and just have fun with it, play around with it. Eventually, I'm going to show in future episodes how you do this stuff on the bags, but I want you to really get this part down, because if you get this part down, everything else, especially the hitting, it's like the easiest stuff. Hey, I just want to thank all the people and all the new subscribers. I'm enjoying the feedback. I'm enjoying making these videos. One thing I will say is for those people who are watching these videos on a regular basis, if there's something that you feel you want me to cover down the line, just drop me a line in the comments section. But once again, thank you for all the folks who are signing up. Thank you for all the folks and all the support. And I'm going to continue with this series of episodes and just keep building on this stuff because I have a lot of fun doing this stuff. Hey, make sure you're also hitting the subscribe button below.